And welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach on Tuesday, December 17, 2019 at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Diamond is absent. Councilmember Rama is absent. Councilmember Mandel. Vice President Benda.
Present.
President Moore.
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of Acting City Manager John Morendo and Acting Corporation Counsel Greg Canisi. We'll have a salute to the day.
Okay, I'm going to ask our Acting City Manager Morendo to lead us in the pledge.
Veterans right next to everyone else right next to the I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 17th meeting. At this time, we'll have our report coming from our Acting City Manager, John Morendo.
On Friday, December 6th, under the command of Chief Richard DiGiacomo, 52 Long Beach firefighters and another 25 from neighboring departments worked together to extinguish a fire at 668 West Broadway. It was a wind-driven fire which caused dangerous conditions for the interior teams. Due to the coordinated effort by the members of the scene, the situation was quickly averted, allowing all firefighters to go home safely while saving the entire structure. Thank you to all of our firefighters in Long Beach, including 4 paid firefighters and 48 volunteer firefighters who work together under extreme and dangerous conditions. We would also like to thank the many firefighters who assisted from the following departments: Lawrence Cedarhurst, Oceanside, Island Park, Point Lookout, Lido, Inwood, Woodmere, and Rockville Center. In light of the recent attack in Jersey City, the Long Beach Police Department have instituted enhanced patrols of religious institutions of all faiths within the city to provide increased protection against potential threats. The department has maintained a database of all upcoming holidays and an updated list of emergency contacts for emergency planning purposes. These measures, along with incorporating routine yet irregularly timed patrols of religious institutions, allows the Long Beach Police Department to provide a visible deterrent to would-be assailants. Better determine where additional resources are needed, and reassure worshippers of all faiths that they are both welcome and protected in our city by the city. The Electric Light Parade in the West End was a tremendous success on Saturday night. It's a great example of the city and the chamber working together to put on a wonderful community event. Thanks to Kerry and Troy, Tracy Murray, and Jamie Lynch for coordinating this great event. The city clerk's office has announced that the 2020 residential parking permits are on sale now. Permits may be purchased at the clerk's office from 307 in City Hall Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or by mail. The office of the city clerk will be open late on Tuesday, January 7th and 21st until 7 p.m. The city of Long Beach is currently developing a floodplain management plan. The FNP documents the city's vulnerability to flood hazards and the city's strategy to reduce that vulnerability. We are pleased to have chamber representation on planning committee. There will be a public meeting to discuss flood vulnerability and the planning process tomorrow, Wednesday, December 18th, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. The meeting will be held at the Long Beach City Hall on Westchester Street, Long Beach, New York, on the 6th floor, and all interested residents and businesses and other stakeholders are invited to attend. For more information on the community rating system, please visit www.longbeachny.gov/CRS. The City of Long Beach will hold a blood drive on December 26th from 2 to 8 p.m. at the Ice Arena located at 150 West Bay Drive. The donation will help save 3 lives. The city's Christmas tree lighting took place a couple of weeks ago and was a great event. Now looking ahead next week, we're all invited to celebrate Hanukkah as we light the menorah each night in Kennedy Plaza beginning on Sunday, December 22nd at 5 p.m. Enjoy the great chocolate gelt drop, hot potato latkes, jelly donuts, and the hot coffee. Please call 516-574-3905 for more information. All are welcome to come down to the city's first night celebration on New Year's Eve at the Long Beach Ice Arena. This is a family-friendly event. It will also include live music and kids' arts and crafts party courtesy of the Long Beach Arts Council. Visit the city's website for more details. And just to wrap up tonight's update, I wanted to wish everyone and their families a happy Festivus. For the rest of us, a wonderful holiday season and all the best in 2020.
Thank you, Acting City Manager. Festivus is one of my favorite holidays, and Seinfeld is one of my favorite programs. Once again, we just want to echo what was said earlier. We want to thank all of our firefighters. We thank them and express our appreciation. for their heroism and also for their hard work. Secondly, all of us were deeply touched by the most recent anti-Semitic attacks which occurred in New Jersey, and I just ask that you would just pause for one moment, for a moment of silence for those that were lost in the most brutal and hateful attack. Thank you. Thank you for that time. Lastly, on behalf of the City Council, we once again want to echo the sentiment, Merry Christmas to those who are celebrating, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa, along with the winter solstice for those of you who also celebrate that holiday. To you and to yours, we are greatly appreciative of all that you do to make this city the most wonderful city to live in. And with that, at this time, we have a special report, special presentation.
Before we do that, let me, as it's noted at the bottom of the calendar, I am going to hand out the state audit report findings, especially to the council. Copies of this report are on the website under the budget page on the website.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to have a special presentation. I'd like to, at this time, recognize Tim Doyle, who will come forward and present with his team. We thank you for being here this evening, Mr. Doyle.
Thank you. Let me begin by thanking you for inviting us.
Could you just raise your microphone a little bit, Mr. Doyle? Thank you.
My name is Tim Doyle. I'm a partner on your engagement for the audit of the city. We provided a document that gives you a little insight into our planning of the audit, timetables and such. I just wanted to go over a very summarized view of that document. You can certainly read the document at your leisure. However, we included things in there such as our deliverables to the city, what reports we're required to provide. Also documented our responsibilities as well as the city's in a financial statement audit. We also discussed the timing of the audit. So we've been in here to do some preliminary procedures. We're coming back in January and February to do the final field work procedures. And so those timetables are set forth. Additionally, we will be asking the City Council for information throughout the audit relative to the fraud concerns, and that's a general inquiry that's done on every audit. We'll ask you for any insight you may have, also on your related party transactions. So you'll get a formal request on that, but we've also included within this document that I provided the contact information for myself, the partner, Heather Briggs, who is the principal or the day-to-day person on the engagement, as well as our IT staff and our professional excellence person. If for some reason you felt uncomfortable reaching out to me as the partner or the principal, our professional excellence leader is separate from the engagement, so we give you that opportunity. So this information is so that you can contact us at any point during the audit. So if there's something that comes up later that you want to discuss, you can certainly reach out to us. So that information is in there as well. We also document in there our process, how we conduct the audit, and key risk areas that at least preliminarily we've looked at. We've identified through your third-party audit reports, OSC, as well as your prior audit reports, that there are definitely some challenges that the city is working on. We look forward to being able to assist with you meeting those challenges. Again, my name is Tim Doyle. I'm the partner on the engagement. If you have any questions for me today, I'd be happy to answer them, or again, you can reach out at any time.
Are there any questions from the council at this time? Or do we need some time to review and reach out to Mr. Doyle? At this time. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're on to the calendar.
Okay. First item on the calendar is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into an intermunicipal agreement for the transport and disposal of municipal solid waste.
Okay, at the end of December, our contract with the town of Hempstead for taking our municipal solid waste to the American Transfer Station expires. For the last 6 months, my deputy commissioner and I have been working and negotiating with both the town of Hempstead and with Sanitary District 1 to come up with a proposal that will save us money long-term for the city. This is now just for MSW for solid waste. This does not include our recyclables, which contract ends at the end of next year in 2020. At present, our last payment, we were paying $94.31 per ton to the town of Hempstead. Their starting salvo would be $95 per ton and would go up either 2% or the CPI each year, whichever was higher. And their starting price was $95 per ton. We do approximately 19,067 tons. That's been the average for the last 5 years of MSW. The Sanitary District 1 has given us an offer of starting at $85 a ton, of which $5 is a host fee for the sanitary district, and $80 is for the disposal fee to the contractor that they use to dispose of their waste. So only the $80 each year would be affected by a CPI or 2%, depending on what was higher. We estimate savings in the first year of the contract of $190,000, $196,000 in the second, $202,000 in the third, $208,000 in the fourth, and $214,000 in the fifth. This is as compared to if we were to continue to go with the town of Hempstead. This creates a 5-year savings of over $1 million. Additionally, instead of taking our MSW to Long Beach and Merrick, which is a 10-mile trip, we would be taking it to Sanitary District 1, which is only a 7.5-mile trip, and that trip will save 2.5 miles of wear and tear on trucks. Added up over the life of the truck will be significant in terms of preventative maintenance, oil changes, and things of that nature. So we think this is a very good contract, and we would recommend that the council approve this agreement with Sanitary District 1.
Okay, are there any questions from members of the council at this time? All right, are there any questions from members of the public with respect to item number 1? Questions? Okay, we'll move on to item number 2.
Item 2 is a resolution authorizing approval of Mediator offer Riegel's recommendation.
At this time, I'm going to step down from the dais and invite our outside counsel, Terry O'Neill, here, who's been working very diligently on this for a matter of years.
Good evening, Mr. O'Neill. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Terry O'Neill. I'm a partner in the law firm of Von Schenig & King, and we're the outside labor counsel for the City of Long Beach involved in negotiations with the various municipal unions. Also a Long Beach resident for 45 years. A little history is important, I think, in terms of what's gone on here. The police negotiations are subject to something that the other unions, other than firefighters, are not subject to, and that's something called interest arbitration. It's a long, drawn-out process, and the city went through it last time with the police, and that arbitration award expired in 2015, almost 5 years ago. Negotiations started for a successor in 2015. They went through a process called mediation, which means a third party comes and tries to get the parties together to agree on a contract. That was unsuccessful. Then moves to the process called interest arbitration. Some of you may be familiar with it, some of you may not. The way it works in the public sector in New York is that it's tripartite, which means there's a advocate arbitrator, I will call him, that the city appoints. There's an advocate arbitrator that the union appoints, and there's a neutral who's selected from a list supplied by the Public Employment Relations Board. In this case, the advocate arbitrator for the union was a former union president. He was actively union president when it started. He since retired during the process. The neutral was someone who worked on the prior arbitration award, so he wasn't new to Long Beach. He knew a lot about the history. The cases were put in. They were voluminous. We had a number of days of hearing. The city's case involved very much the ability to pay and the fiscal stress factors that had been placed on it by the state. which requires an interest arbitrator to place 70% weight on ability to pay. And given those of you who are taxpayers here, you know we've been through the last few years. We've been stressed with taxes and other issues. So the cases got put in, and after that, in voluminous briefs, they all in the end would be public records. And then the panel sits, which means myself, the former union president, and the mutual interest arbitrator. And we must have had 4 or 5 sessions that were very lengthy. And as it came to our attention that if we came out with an award, it's limited to 2 years under the statute. So that award would cover only 15-16, 16-17, and we would already be 3 years behind when we finished with the award. The result neither party thought would be advantageous to the city or to the union. So we then listened to the arbitrator, who also served as a mediator as well, which means it doesn't have binding effect, but he tried to get the parties together. And the city's point of view from this is very important to explain. We've been faced with, everyone here I guess probably lives in Long Beach or is familiar with the payouts that have taken place over the years. They've gotten a lot of publicity. They put some fiscal stress on the city, and he understood that, and it's something that to fix, we had to figure a way to get around that. He mediated. He's a very experienced mediator arbitrator. He saw common ground in our positions, and one thing that he thought was absolutely necessary is that it had to exceed 2 years. There was no reason to do something for 2 years and then start over again 3 years behind. So the PBA leadership had passed on from the former union president to a new union president. So since the former union president on the panel, his jurisdiction was limited to 2 years, he had to get the new union president involved. And during the length of these negotiations or mediation, there was a new union president who came on. So he had to be involved also. It stretched it out even a little longer, but it certainly became a point in time where the arbitrator serving as a mediator thought that he could address the goals of the city. And the goals of the city were to have its own police department, but it had to be sustainable. And the conclusion had been made that if we continue to make these payouts and we continue to have these benefits in perpetuity, it would not be sustainable. And that meant something that living here, I didn't want to see. I don't think anybody I talked to wanted to see. I thought we have a good police department. They perform a very valuable service. The service is terrific compared to having Nassau County provide us with cars. There's a lot of bad results. I wouldn't say that. There are certain results if you go to Nassau County that are, they determine how many cars will be servicing this area, not the city residents or the city elected officials. That's one thing that we wouldn't want. Secondly, and probably from the PBA's perspective, we've been advised that anybody on our job with more than 20 years of service would not be taken into the county as employed. We have a lot of people on the job with more than 20 years of service. We don't want to see that happen. They certainly didn't want to see it happen. So in that context, he came up with a recommendation. It's a multi-year recommendation. It covers a number of years going forward. And it was something that the union member of the panel said he would recommend to the membership. The successor president, he was called in. He said he would recommend it to the membership. The current union president was called in, and he said he would recommend it to the membership. We anticipated that ratification vote would take place this prior Sunday. I, on behalf of the city, police commissioner, who I think is here, sat in on some of these sessions. He also committed to recommend it to the council as well. So everybody was ready to recommend it, and then we were running out of meetings and running out of time, and this council, including the 2 people who are not here tonight, have kept apprised of what's been going on. So rather than make this an issue for an incoming council, I thought it best as the day that we should have the people who are here who have lived with this process make a decision on the topic. So I took my responsibility seriously. I recommended it to the council to ratify. The PBA has put off their ratification meeting, and I won't say it's their blame. The mediator got the recommendation out a little bit later than anticipated. on Sunday, so they couldn't do their ratification on Sunday. I suggested Monday. They said they couldn't do Monday or Tuesday, which I also suggested, so we'd have it ratified by tonight by the PBA, and then we would have it ratified tonight, hopefully by the council, and be able to explain, go over, and whatever. The mediator contacted me when he found out that the PBA's ratification is not going to occur until Thursday, and he said he's asking that we not reveal any of the contents of the deal until it's been ratified, which any of you who have been involved in any labor negotiations or even have seen it on TV. No one gives out the terms of the agreement until it's been ratified by both sides. So he's asked that we not go through the details of this until the next meeting, after presumably, and I would hope the PBA would ratify it with their current president, the prior president, and the president before that all recommending it. We hope, I'm very hopeful that it would be ratified. The consequences of that, if it is not, then we would have no agreement. We would have ratified it already, and the terms would maybe then to be made public. But at this point in time, he has asked that the PBA and the city not reveal the contents of the recommendation until it's ratified. I said I live here. I'd be back. We'll go through every paragraph of it with the public if they want to understand every provision. It's a very complicated, long agreement. It covers a long period of time, even going forward. To get the 5 years back, it covers periods going forward. There's a lot of solutions to the problems that we've identified in the contract that are cost effective for the city long range. We think it does not hurt the long-term members of the PBA who will be able to deal with the terms that are in the new agreement. And once it is ratified, as I explained, back to go on every term that's in it. I think, I must say I've been doing this, I hate to say this, but I think 49 years now. I've never had a situation where we had a union ratify after an employer, and it's very unusual. A lot of circumstances with elections, the board, timing, getting the deal done. But the thing that I think is most important, at least from the city's point of view, that after you hear all of this and after this council has heard it, I hope that they believe that it has made this, it would make this a sustainable police department for the next lifetime, hopefully, but certainly for the duration of that, the agreement, and that the PBA would see it likewise as very bad consequences for everyone. As I said, members of the PBA, if there's no agreement, we have to go back to a 2-year award, which now gets us up to 17, 18, which is no way to run a city, being that far behind with your highest paid employees in the unit. So that's the status. I've asked the council so that we can have this done by Thursday to ratify, to have the PBA ratify on Thursday, and then whatever kind of meeting you want, whenever you want it. I said I'm happy to be back here to go through every detail of it. It's a very lengthy, complicated agreement, but in the end, I would say what it does, it allows us to continue this police department.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. At this time, are there any questions or comments from members of the council? Okay, seeing none at this time. Questions and comments from members of the audience. Speaking to item number 2.
No offense, Mr. O'Neill, but are you kidding? I mean, you want us to vote on something that goes until 2027, but we don't want to reveal anything about it. What's the rush?
Are you voting on this, or is the council voting?
The council.
Council knows what's in it.
And the council doesn't want the public to know?
The mediator who framed this has asked us to refrain from this until the ratification has taken place. That part I'm not...
I have no problem with that, then why rush it?
Why rush it? Because is there any meetings between now and the end of the year?
No.
Then who would vote on it? People who have not dealt with it for the last 2 years.
The people who are going to live with it, the proper people to vote on it.
There are people here who don't live with it, sitting at the table.
Yeah, I know, and you have the public who's not allowed to know anything about it. That's not right. ones that pay.
I understand that.
I understand you pay too. You're a taxpayer too. But we are the ones that pay for this. Okay? And I'm surprised as a taxpayer you would allow something like that. But you know the terms. You know the terms. So, you know, I'm not saying it's not a great deal. It might be a great deal. But the idea of voting on something before it's even ratified is absurd. I've never heard of that.
It's unusual for the reasons I explained.
I understand why it's unusual. I don't understand why it has to be rushed before we even know anything about it. You'll be glad to come, you said, and explain it after the fact.
When you say all, like I said, the people who were voting on this, who are all sitting here tonight at the table, they know the details of it. If they think it's a good deal for the city, they will vote for it. If they don't, they will vote against it. And the PBA.
And I would ask those people to wait so the public knows what you're voting on. That's what we elected you to do, to inform us. You spoke about transparency. All of you, when you ran, spoke about transparency. Now to vote on a contract, which is the biggest expense in the city, the biggest. We spent millions, millions, millions of dollars on this police force. Okay? And I'm not saying they're not great, but you know what? To try now to put in a contract that goes over a 12-year period without telling us anything about it, except we can't divulge it to you because the arbitrator doesn't want us to, is not right. It is not right.
If there were a mechanism that would allow the council to be here after Thursday to vote after the PBA ratifies, they could hold off till then.
It can be held off till next year.
No, that part to me makes no sense.
Not to you, but to us it does.
What?
Legislative board.
May I offer, you sort of brought it up, alluded to a mechanism that can be found to be able to ease the concerns of the residents here in the city of Long Beach in regard to this contract. And I have no doubt in my mind that, as you said, that you worked so long on it, that probably, and the city council people who are sitting here that are well aware of what the contents of the contract is probably something that may be agreeable and people would accept. But it is very disheartening to hear that we're going to have to vote on something that we don't even know who the people are, who the mutual arbitrator was in regard into all of these negotiations. And I think it's very important that as we see a change in the city, that we have new city council people coming in. I'm going to assume, I guess, that they are not even aware of the contents of what the new contract is going to be, because they're not sworn in at this point. Am I correct?
Correct.
So it's only the city council, the sitting city council people. So perhaps what we can do is, if they're going to have if they're going to ratify the contract, hopefully on Thursday with the members of the PBA, tonight you can recess the city council meeting so that it can be called at any time, so before the end of the year. So if it is, and I know it puts a burden on the city council people, but perhaps it might be something that you can recess this meeting, and then perhaps maybe Friday or Monday reconvene, allow the residents to hear the basic elements of what the contract is before vote is taken. And then that will also give an opportunity for the incoming city council people to hopefully sit in this audience, or at least be able to watch it on video, so they are aware of what this contract is going to do and what impact it's going to have on the city finances. So that would be my recommendation. But thank you for your hard work.
Second, 'Cause, 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 'cause
that's what I like to say. You know, the new people coming in have been to all these meetings. Some of them are here right now. I don't trust anything where someone's rushed your name, no offense. And I don't trust anything where the people who are going to pay the bill are not being led in on the details of the deal. So, yeah, there are many ways this could be worked out. Like Legislator Denise Ford said, there could be a special meeting. You could summarize, sum it up to the new city council, and there is a special January 1 meeting that is for something else, but you could also include the vote there. But I don't trust so much to have something rushed and something this important hidden from sight. I think it should be ratified first, and then I think the city council should vote on it.
Just in terms of the comment about it being rushed,
Yes.
I have met this council, including others who aren't here tonight, to keep them up to date. And otherwise, you came into this cold. It's a very complicated contract. There's a lot of issues involved. The solution is very complicated. So it hasn't been rushed for them. It may be rushed for the public. I understand that point. But they certainly have been informed along the way. They're fully informed tonight. They've got cost figures from the controller's office on the savings, the offsets, when people we think will be leaving, projected. We've dealt with all those issues, so it isn't rushed in that regard. I can say that.
No, I appreciate that end of it. I trust that. That's done the correct way. But I think the new people, first of all, two of the council members are not even here tonight. Second of all, the new three that are coming in are pretty bright, and I think they could catch up with it if it came to the situation where they had to take it on instead of the existing council.
I will say this much. When I told you before during my long story introduction that the union made a representation that they would recommend it for ratification. It's something that people in this industry, for want of a better term, take very seriously. They should have been confident when they made that representation that they could sell it to their membership. I did the same. These are the people I worked for then. I was confident, given the history and providing them information along the way, that they would support it. Holding it up for a group I've never met before, and knowing I would still have to try to sell it legally, I'm obligated to do that. Whether or not they would buy it, I don't know. I think they would, because I think they have the same goals as this group here in terms of sustainable policing. And this, I think, accomplishes that goal.
I think that's a good point, but no one can really tell what they're going to do on Thursday. And as a city, we've been screwed over for decades with this payout stuff. And your timing is there. You know what I'm trying to say?
If they don't ratify, the PBA doesn't ratify, then you don't have anything to worry about. There's no need.
Right.
Both sides have to ratify. We would hope they would ratify, because if you have your three presidents who have been there for the last 5 years recommending it, you would think the membership would follow. Stranger things have happened.
That's right.
You would think it would be ratified.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam Pinto.
Good evening, Sam Pinto, Long Beach. My question is to this, is that do you guys understand the optics of this right now? You have an outside counselor coming here, sitting at the pulpit, telling you guys that you should vote on something because he worked so hard on something, where 2/5 of the council aren't even here. And then, essentially, you're almost pleading to the residents how great this is, while it's not even finalized yet on the other side of the table. The optics are horrendous. And you're rushing something, or you can say if you want if it's rushing or not, but it's been going on for how many years? 5 years and no contracts. You've been working on this for a few years. And over the last 5 years, there's been a ton of questionable stuff gone throughout the city that I bet has been advised on by Labor Council. So now you got the same Labor Council here who's been pretty much existing for the city while all these questionable payouts, all this other stuff's been going on. And now we're going to jump on the recommendation right away. I think it's a little ridiculous, and I think the optics are off. And I also understand the fact that you don't want to express the terms of an active negotiation or an active mediation to the public before it's finalized. But this resolution should have been tabled. It should have been pulled from it when you realized that it wasn't ratified. You can make your decision. Obviously, two council members who are so vital to this whole process are not even here. So you can make your choice, but I think you're getting, probably bad advice right now. And I'm gonna stick to that. Thank you.
This was clear. You won't find my name on any of those reports. It had nothing to do with any of the advice about any payouts ever. So that's kind of a cheap shot. One of the better terms.
Good evening, Jacob. How is the public expected to give informed input on this item when we have no idea what the recommendations even are? It's reminiscent of the Obamacare debacle where it was said that you had to pass it in order to learn what was in it. That's essentially what we're being asked to do here. Is this vote permissive or is it mandatory? I mean, if you guys vote for this, are you obligated to these terms?
Only if the PBA ratifies.
Okay. So there's that. The other thing is, as Mr. O'Neill pointed out, the arbitration award is capped at 2 years. I understand the benefits to the city of having labor certainty and having things resolved so we can plan out budgets and such, but this kind of an obligation for such an extended period of time may or may not. I mean, again, other people have said it may be the greatest deal. Maybe these guys are cutting their pay in half. We don't know. The whole purpose of this exercise, of public hearing, is so that the council can get input from the public, some of whom have experience in the negotiation of public sector collective bargaining agreements. People may be able to give you the benefit of their input and expertise, but they're denied that opportunity, at least on any kind of informed basis, because we're flying blind here. This, it's impossible to know whether or not this thing makes sense. I also think the timing of it smells, it's in the 11th hour of an outgoing administration. And again, I want to reiterate, this could be the best deal, the best labor deal struck in the history of labor deals. But without knowing and without giving the public an opportunity to weigh in, I think it would be irresponsible of the council to approve this and saddle the next administration with picking up the tab for it. It's just a really, really bad idea. As Sam pointed out, the optics of it are pretty horrendous. And the other thing is, whatever the terms are, the city could very easily voluntarily enter into these same terms with the PBA 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 6 months from now, whatever the case may be. It seems to me like the claimed urgency that Mr. O'Neill spoke of is wholly contrived. I just don't see it. And again, that you guys know the details of this deal, that's great, but we don't know. And I don't know what the point is of even affording the public an opportunity to speak about it when we just don't know what it is we're speaking about.
There's one thing in terms of process, at least in the bargaining I've been involved in for a long time. The public doesn't know the terms of an agreement until it's ratified that night. So it's not like you give it to them and then you vote a week later or a month later. I've never seen it happen the way you described it. They can't vote until they've told me what the deal is. I've never seen it occur that way in any labor negotiations I've involved, whether it's teachers, whether it's firefighters, whether it's police.
Well, again, I know you've been doing this a long time, but it seems like your advice is kind of self-serving. Also seems like you're putting the cart before the horse here. If the PBA wants to ratify it and then disclose the details so that we can come back here and have the council approve it, that seems to make a lot more sense to me.
Good evening, council members. Mike Delory, Long Beach. Mr. O'Neill, I am one of the members that are going to be at the incoming city council. My background is in finance. I don't think anybody up here has background or the background that I have. Not saying that I'm better than anybody, just that I deal with a little bit more finance issues Karen McGinnis is an incoming city council member-elect. She's a financial executive as well. So my point is, I'm going to go back to that, is have you negotiated on behalf of the city before in any other previous contracts as it pertains to the PBA? This PBA?
I've been at the table but never finished the negotiations. Many years ago, 15 years ago, we had negotiations that I was involved in with the police, but an election was coming up, and then everybody's position changed, and all of a sudden, they had different people close the deal. I did not negotiate that.
Okay. Something similar is happening here because there was an election, and it seems like this is going to be voted on prior to the new incoming council. I'm not recommending one way or the other. It's for me coming in, not knowing any information as far as a long-term contract that may affect my ability or the other people's ability going forward. The other question I have, if you can answer it, is whatever happens tonight, has the city controller or anybody gone through the financial impact to finance this, whatever the amount is between June 30th, 2015, up through and including December 31st of 2019? Because I imagine there's going to be a large dollar amount that's going to have to be funded. Would I be accurate in saying that?
No.
Okay.
This contract running through the year we're in now, which is 1920.
What about 2015 through 2019? It's retroactive.
Well, you asked the question, no money would have to come out of the budget to pay for those years.
Okay. Well,
It's a very...
is it deferred to a future year?
Some could be, some could not be. There could be zeros in there. There could be deferrals. There could be a lot of things that make it... See, no money was budgeted for the last 5 years for any PBA raises.
Understood.
I will tell you a position I took during these, I'll call them negotiations that took place during interest arbitration. I said, we have no money to pay anything from 2015 to 2020 unless you give us concessions that can fund them. And I'm not talking about a one-shot concession in exchange for a raise that goes on forever. So we came up with solutions that are very complicated. You understand this, I can tell this by the questions you asked. It is very complicated. We achieved that. And then going out, we achieved other things that would make this sustainable, which meant the people now who are making a lot of money, big payouts, would have to leave. If you're talking about sustainable, they have to be replaced by people with lower salaries and different benefits. We achieved that.
And you are a resident taxpayer of the
I
city of Long
am
Beach?
Harding Avenue. I won't give my full address because
No, I
I might
understand
be a
that.
firefighter or a cop.
I believe what you're telling me. I don't know the outcome tonight or what's going to happen, but I'm sure after I am sworn in, I can look it over and have a better understanding.
And if you've done labor negotiations, if you've been involved in them or in any role, timing is very important. I thought this was going to be done a long time ago. I didn't plan to do things this way. I don't like it. I don't like the optics. But it's a deal that, when I say my heart is in it, selling it, my heart is in it, selling it because I do want to have a police department here. I think it's unaffordable now. It's not sustainable. I want to have a Nassau cop car coming through once in a while. I want our Long Beach police here. And I think everyone who would vote for this would agree that that would be the end result of this. And it's not going to put any undue burdens on your council going forward.
Sure, I think there's benefits to your own police department. They know the area. They're good at what they do. So, but we have to have that balance of affordability.
And I will tell you, if they don't ratify it and they don't approve this contract, my advice is let's get Nassau County and let's start talking about the alternative.
Thank you for your answer.
Eddie Verona?
Hello, hey Brian. So to be clear, we can't reveal to the public the contents of this contract because the PBA has not ratified this contract.
Well, the mediator, who is the architect of this long-term agreement, has asked that we not reveal it because he feels it would jeopardize the PBA ratification. And as I said before, I've never heard of a party to a tentative agreement, which is what this is, reveal the contents of the agreement before both sides ratify.
If the PBA had ratified this, we could reveal the contents.
Absolutely. They ratify on Thursday, I come on Friday. If you ask me to, I give you every detail of it, I will defend every part.
Okay. So, Mr. O'Neill, you had said that if there is a mechanism, that you would do that you just indicated. But there is a clear mechanism, item 10 of this agenda, where calling for a special meeting of the council, where new members will be sworn in. That is a perfect time, I believe, for a new vote on this contract, because the new council has a mandate from the public. And you had said you would rather have this current administration, this council, to determine to vote on this contract. But this new council has a mandate from the public. They have trust. The people in this administration has lost the trust of the people. We have no faith in this council. And why should they determine the fate of Long Beach finances until 2027? It's absurd. It is truly to say to lock a new administration into an agreement. This is exactly what happened in the town of Hempstead. This is exactly what happened with Santina. And how can the public be sure that the issues of the old contract, such as separation pay, $316,000, according to New York State, is the average separation pay to a police officer. There are massive minimum staffing requirements. We have some of the highest paid police officers in New York State, according to See Through New York. How do we know these issues are fixed when we can't trust the administration to release their audit on time? We can't trust the administration to tell us the truth. The public has no faith in this. The public has no faith in this process. We need to table this contract now.
I just said something about minimum manning requirements. Yeah, we have no minimum manning requirements on our police
It was, they had said that.
And secondly, you mentioned...
Well, that's it. During a budget presentation, someone had said, yes, we have staffing requirements. So again, we can't trust the administration in their own budget. How can we?
Let me explain the difference. There are contracts that are written that have minimum manning requirements that you have no flexibility with. You have to do it because the union contract says it. We have no such provisions in our PBA contract. We have internal guidelines that the commissioner uses. If we go below this number, we call something in overtime. You don't have to do that. So the only minimum manning requirements is self-imposed. And the second, you mentioned something about 2027. Where did you get that?
In the agenda, where it says, on item 2, it says that this, whereas Mediator Riegel made a recommendation for the parties to resolve the dispute covering the period of July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2027. So that to lock us into a contract for the entirety of the new administration, I think is wrong. And B, at a budget presentation, I believe it was in 2017, they had said that there are minimum staffing requirements in the contract, so thank you for that clarification, but it just proves my point. How can we, if the administration lies or grossly has represented the contract in a public budget presentation, why should we trust them now? Thank you.
I just want to clarify something you mentioned about past history of union contracts and announcements. I'm not too familiar with accounting and how that works, but I sat on a negotiation team as the recording secretary of the New York City Firefighters Labor Union for 10 years against the Mayor Bloomberg's administration on many contracts. And I can't recall one contract that we didn't settle, come to agreement like you have, that the city did not announce the basic numbers of the contract. Let's just say it was 2 and 2, or 2 and 3, or 0, or whatever it is. They always announced it beforehand. And they may not have put out all the minutiae of it because that does require a little bit of time to explain. But by the next day, that information was put out. We negotiated in the middle of the night. Additionally, the ratification process in New York City Firefighters Labor Union and also New York City Police Department. And by the way, Arthur Riegel was an arbitrator on several of the police contracts, if I recall correctly, and he's well respected. I think he did some fair agreements, arbitration awards. The process, the ratification process is quite drawn out. In the New York City Fire Department, you have to have a notification period, maybe 10 or 12 days, if I recall, 2 weeks, to have the battalion delegates in. They meet, and then you have a meeting with the membership, and they meet, and then you have a certain number of days after that to put the full information out to the membership for them to vote on. So it's quite a bit of time for everybody to digest everything, and in this instance, we're missing all of that. And I think it's a disservice to the members of the unions to have to vote on something before hearing what the neighbors think about it, too. Because, the word is out, and we're all members of the community. So I just wanted to clarify that the information you've given about, you've never heard of it, and I trust your word for that. But in the city of New York, that information was always put out, at least the signing points, so people could digest that. And then later on, what would happen. So, factually speaking, it's not always done that way in the state of New York, certainly not for larger unions.
And just so it's clear, under most unions has constitutional bylaws about how the ratification will be held.
Correct.
Your union in New York City, how many thousand members do you have?
We had 10,000 active, we had 20,000 retired and active.
We have 60 cops here.
Yeah.
It's not
So,
that
but I'm just saying,
I'm sorry, if they told us they needed that time, we would build that into the timeline.
I get that, but it's not just about them. We've got people here who want to know. I got to say, I'm a labor guy. I'm a labor guy to the core, I do believe in management's necessity, especially in the situation we have here in Long Beach where things are tight. And I'm not saying I distrust the process. Again, Arthur Riegel is highly respected. But rushing this, I think as Sam Pinto said, the optics don't look good at all. And I think we've all worked very hard to get into office with new people and to say we're going to have the optics out there so everybody's transparent. And it doesn't appear that way. I know in the city of New York, constantly, it's the appearance. The appearance is what, creates a lot of problems. So I think Legislative Ford suggests a meeting on a Friday, possibly, the council, after it's announced. In my opinion, it's still short, but, I would defer to the council on that. That's not my call, and maybe that would be the best thing to do. But certainly, that's not the way it's done everywhere in New York, and it's the city is not bound by the union bylaws, and the city is one who announces the information. I know myself.
Please move to a summation.
Yeah, I would put it out to the membership right that evening, regardless of the time was. I'd spend to get that information, all the main points out, and from there the media would get a hold of it anyway. Considering sending 365 firehouses, there's no secrets. So that's
The one thing I probably would agree with, the optics don't look good. I understand what everyone is saying about that. This was certainly not my plan. I wanted to be here months ago.
Yeah.
We just didn't get it done until last week. Their meeting that they were going to have on Sunday didn't get done. I don't like going first, and that's why, and what he said, please don't reveal the provisions because it might upset. The last thing I would like to see happen is the police voted down. The consequences of that, frankly, in my opinion, are disastrous.
well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
Are there any other questions, comments? Can't see you. Just stand up because I can't see.
Good evening, Neil Connie.
Good evening.
I do have a couple of questions. So first, is this contract due to sustainability?
I'm sorry.
Does this lead to sustainability?
I believe yes.
Okay, do you have any studies on that? I mean, you can't obviously disclose that, but do you have any studies on that?
Well, we haven't costed it out. The controller did that, and we looked at what our costs are now and what they will be in the future. And as the people who leave the job, and there's a methodology of why that will happen sooner rather than later, they'll be replaced by people at a quarter of the cost and with different benefits. That much I can reveal. Not the specifics of it, but that will make it a sustainable operation.
All right, but you see, the thing is that you state how the optics are bad. And the other thing is that from 2010 to 2017, a lot has changed in our world. And I just, like, given that you can't reveal the agreement, obviously, which I understand, you know, I don't know how exactly we can trust that this is going to be sustainable. And you had mentioned all the scandals that the city is going through, such as separation thing. You don't understand how exactly the members of the public and the incoming administration can know that this is sustainable based on the studies. I mean, it's just not present. There's no studies on what exactly would happen with separation thing. I mean, these are all big issues. And then also, you know, our world is obviously going to change in 7 years. So,
I wouldn't be here if there weren't a solution to the separation thing. That would not be a sustainable separation.
But, you know, I mean, how confident are you in the methodology that this will last for 7 years? I just don't know.
Pretty confident. We've been at this for a long time with someone who even the union person said is a very experienced, respected person, Mr. Riegel, who was the mediator of this. He worked very hard. He worked all this past weekend to try to get them so they could have it on Sunday. But he understands exactly. He sat through, I don't know how many days of presentation we have to show us the problems that this has created. And we 2 years ago, and I don't know how well we ranked this year, but we were the most fiscally stressed city in the state. He understands that.
But given those problems, like, why is there no transparency? Like, why do you have to vote on this tonight? Why can't you move it off until next week when they do ratify? Like, why exactly, given all the problems we have, which you acknowledge, why can't we wait at least a week? I don't understand that. You haven't been clear on why we can't wait until the PBA ratifies the agreement.
Well, I would hope, as I said before, we had 3 PBA presidents who were recommending it. You know how there are rumors sometimes in Long Beach? You probably heard of that, right? Sometimes there are rumors here. So there were some rumors about the ratification. And frankly, you know, if they're listening tonight, which they may be, if they think this is a good thing or a bad thing, it may affect the vote. I think they're entitled to present this package to their people the same way I was to the people who have been listening to this. The 2 people who are not here, I talked to them about it for the last 6 months. I wish
But
this
you
was
have to
done
understand, this is
before.
not a level playing field, right? This is the city of Long Beach that we're talking about, given all the problems that we have. I really wish that we could at least hold this off. Like, why can't we table this? Why can't, I just don't understand. Like, you know, you have now, like, if we can't do this when the incoming administration comes, like, I just still don't understand. Like, why can't we wait? Like, you know, and the thing is that you said that this agreement, you know, just came to, right? Why don't we have more time for studies to come in? Why can't we, like, allow for more time? I mean, I think that's what we need, honestly. I mean, I just feel that this process is being rushed, just like how the town of Hempstead, or NC Santino. I mean, that exactly is what comes to mind when I think about it.
If this thing looked anything like the deal he made, I would never work here again. I hope to work here until I stop practicing law. I know what that deal was about. It's been challenged. There's a lot of problems. There was a lame duck supervisor making a deal to get the unions on the side.
But there are also 3 council members that are incumbents that they're not going to be here.
Somebody wanted to.
Okay, but then, you know, just for point of clarification, you still have 2 members here, and it seems to me at least that you trust in the 2 members that are here, and if they're still here and they're sitting here, and this was not tabled before we came in, then you should still trust in your leadership. If you don't trust in my leadership, that's okay. I'm an outgoing, but I stay here. I've been here for every meeting, and there's 2 people who are not here. They've been informed, but the point is there are 3 people that are here right now. So if you don't trust in me, in terms of people who are in the audience, that's okay. You still have two members that you trust in, and if they're still here and they didn't table it, then you should at least put trust and understand that they're trying to do something that will benefit the city. But I thank you for your statements, and I thank you, being a young person in our city, that you're concerned. That means so much to us that you would come up and speak to the issue.
Right, exactly, but, you know, the point is, I do have trust in all three of you. The question is not trust. It's just like...
No, but you said trust, that's the word that you used. Several people have used it, and that's why I brought that up.
It's just like, you know, we have these issues, right? It seems like every week you read the Nassau, the Long Beach Herald, and like all these issues are coming forward, right? It just seems like a building up situation, and it's just like, yes, I have trust, but you know, you see where I'm coming from, right? Is that every week you read it, and like there's something coming out with the payout situation. It's just so hard for me to even, you know, say, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Ivan Hessen?
Eileen Heschen, Long Beach. Can I ask who put this on the agenda for this evening? I guess I can't. Can I?
The city manager prepares the agenda, and I put it on the agenda.
And it couldn't have gone on last week.
No, because we didn't have the arbitrator's decision yet.
You talk about urgency and timing and so forth, and that you've been working on this for 5 years, so I understand there is some urgency, but if I were part of the PBA, I would have been so anxious, I would have been available on Sunday. They weren't available on Sunday after 5 years, or Monday, or Tuesday, or Wednesday. They weren't available until Thursday. So I sense there's not an urgency with them. They're holding up until Christmas, I guess. Denise Ford suggested that maybe, as you suggested also, perhaps we could have a meeting on Friday morning. We have had meetings at 7:30 in the morning, and the council has been extremely criticized for that, saying that people have to go to work. They've had them in the afternoons as well, while people are working, and they get criticized for that. This has got to be tabled. We don't know what's going on. There's been too many wrong things going on in Long Beach. We are out of money. If you're talking about bonding, when you say it's not going to cost anything out of the budget, you're scaring me to death. Jack Schneerman bonded us to death, and that's part of the reason why we're here.
No bonding. There won't be any bonding over the life of this.
Okay.
There's no need for it.
The new council, there will only be 2 people here that will vote on this if you vote on it now. There are 3 new people coming in who will have to be part of governing this city, and they have no knowledge whatsoever about this, and that's unfair to them. Anything that goes on in the future about the police and their contract, people will be up here asking those new council members, and they can just say, well, I didn't vote for it, I wasn't even here, I didn't know anything about it. So if we can't have the vote tonight, December 17th, I don't think we should have it on Friday or Thursday or any time before that new council comes in, including January 1st, because it doesn't give them enough time to learn about this on the day of their inauguration. I think this should be tabled for a month, and I'm going to ask you, John Bendo, and Anissa Moore, and Scott Mandel, one of you, please make a motion to table this thing. It's unfair to our city and to me.
Just to make one thing clear in terms of my role in the last 5 years. When City Manager Schneerman was here, I had a very limited role in police negotiations. He basically conducted...
I'm not saying that you had anything to do with Mr. Schneerman. I'm saying that bonding is not the way out. And you just told me that we're not bonding.
There's no bonding.
I don't know where the money's coming from. If it's not going to be in the budget, and it's not going to be bonding. Because this is a very long time. 5 years retroactive and 10 years into the future or whatever it is. I mean, it's a lot of money. This has to be tabled, and we have to hear some of the details. You actually gave some of the details as we were sitting here, I think, to Sam Pinto. You know, you gave us a few details, so give us all the details. Or table it, please. John, Anissa, Scott, table it. Thank you.
comments? Yes, Mr. Kelly.
Kelly, Long Beach, I mean, it's very brief. You, Mr. O'Neill, is it?
Yes.
You yourself used the word unusual in how this is going about. We're kind of sick of unusual. Please table this. This is why we voted in new people. We are sick of unusual. We want something usual to happen. Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we move on.
I'm gonna motion we go into executive session.
Okay, I'll second that motion. I second the motion.
Go to executive session. Councilmember Yes.
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 Executive session.
Thank you for your patience. At this time, I'm going to make a motion to close the executive session. Okay. No problem. Thank you. All right, so a motion to, again, close that executive session. And we can move right into session now and resume. We're going to hear it now. We'll have remarks.
I just want to add maybe a point of clarification or something that, why I wasn't clear enough earlier. Interest arbitration takes all the control away from the city. It leaves it in the hands, basically, of the arbitrator. He's got to get another vote, but he basically controls what happens. His expectation is that this process would finally be over this week. He impressed upon us the ratification, the votes being taken, the confidentiality of it, and there's a reason I try to honor his request. I would like him to be on our side, if we end up in an interest arbitration, which would be a horrible solution to this, it would cover only 2 years. You would not be happy with one of the sides. So if there's anything that anyone could draw from this meeting that would be negative about this council approving this agreement, it would be bad for the arbitrator, it would be bad for the PBA. The PBA should understand that this council would vote for this deal. Then their options are very simple. They approve it, we come back, we explain all of it to you, take whatever criticism, you can throw anything out there that you want when you understand it, or we end up with the PBA not ratified, which everyone here, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who's sitting at this point of the table disagrees that that would be a bad result to go back to a 2-year arbitration award as opposed to the solution we have now. We have a solution. Everyone's confident that it's here. There are people up here who trust them. Listen to me. I may not be one of them, but there are people up here. I think certainly a lot of the people in the audience trust. They listen to every detail of this. The memo explaining it was about a dozen pages long, maybe even longer. A lot of issues. So, and I emphasize, if you ratify tonight, they ratify Thursday, I'm happy to be here all day Friday to answer questions. You can come in and anytime you want, as many people as you want, we'll go over every detail. But I think from the arbitrator's perspective, he would be disappointed, not happy, because it might give the PBA an excuse not to ratify, because now, listening to the comments from the audience, he may think, well, now the council, they listen to the audience and think this is business as usual. Trust me, this is not business as usual, this isn't Tony Santino. This is a way to save your police department. To put that in jeopardy, as a resident, as the lawyer handling this case, would be a terrible mistake.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3.
Item number 3 is a resolution authorizing settlement of certiorari proceedings.
This time we'll hear from our tax assessor. Good evening, Mr. Clymer.
Good evening. This is a tax certiorari settlement between the city and 522 Shore Road, with the co-op known as Parker-Duville. It's a 3-year settlement, 1718 through 1920, which is a $35,000 settlement and a reduction of assessment of about 8%. And there's also a 3-year moratorium, and there's no interest involved. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from members of the council?
What do they pay now, and what would they pay if this was passed, the taxes?
One second on that. They're paying about $294,000 this year. Next year, depends on what you guys do.
Like the ratio?
The ratio changes.
But ballpark, I mean, what kind of increase are you looking at?
It's about 8%.
Did you say 8?
About 8%.
About 8%.
Questions? All right, at this time, we'll open up the floor to members of the public. Are there any questions, again, with respect to item number 3? Item number 3. Yes. Mr. Pinto.
Sam Pinto, Long Beach. I just have a procedural question. Last, I think, month or was it maybe the last meeting, Lancer Building came up here for this similar type of grievance process? Similar, right? And I think it was the validation for approving such a argument because the commercial businesses are taxed similar to the, or they're not taxed similar to the residential businesses, and this is a residential business? Residential building, value. So I just don't understand if that was the key indicator for why we should approve that last one. Why is the opposite occurring today? Unless I'm not understanding.
I'm going to speak, allow him to speak in the microphone, please.
The settlement is based on rental values, what the rents are in Long Beach, and the analysis showed there should be some sort of refund, and when the opposition comes and they're demanding over $100,000, you have to settle or say no, and then we go to trial. So there has to be a basis of fact and the business decision as well to settle. the settlement is good for the city moving forward. It has a 3-year moratorium, so they can't come back and ask for more.
I think you also have to calculate the cost of trial as far as retaining expert appraisals, because Mr. Flammer will not be able to testify in court as to that.
If you have an appraiser, if the appraisal is up a few $1,000s, then that would be your trial. You're not going to have the cost as well.
So essentially, it's less expensive for us to accept this settlement than to pursue or deny it.
Yes, going to a trial, a judge would make a decision on value of the items.
I just don't really understand too much about how last time we were pushing for this grievance acceptance because of the fact that we were worried that the business may leave. I doubt that this group of residents would leave. So just wondering on the whole process, right? Is that the case?
No, there was a basis on the valuation, how our valuation was a little bit higher at the time, and that was the reason for such a larger settlement for that building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Item number 3, all right. We'll move on to item number 4, thank you.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to issue a letter of support.
This is a requesting a letter of support for Temple Bethel. Their organization was in kind of flux the past couple of years. They didn't file their exemption legal applications, and their financials, and this will also, the building has been shuttered, it's not being used, so it wouldn't be allowed to make it exempt because there's no use there right now. The organization has a new leader now, Rabbi Goodman, who's here, and this letter of support will allow the state to pass a law that will allow us to retroactively give the Temple Bethel the exemption for the current action.
Okay, are there any questions and or comments from members of the council?
Just have a quick question regarding the district hearing. Temple Bethel has always sought this exemption, and they just missed 1 year?
2 years in a row. I wound up being able to contact a former board member who filled out an application. I did not receive their financials. This year, with the hope of denying the exemption, they'll get it in the mail. Like no one, we tried calling them, sending them letters, sort of denying the exemption, and forcing them to come in and give me the application at that time. She usually does.
Thank you.
All right, are there any questions and or comments from members of the public? Yes. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Sheldon Friedman. I am the current president of Temple Bethel. And we have been in flux for 2 years to, I don't want to use the word unusual, but a very difficult situation. We had the president resign. We had several board members, 3 of them, who passed away. They were Holocaust survivors. And I became the president. And one of the other major problems was mail delivery. The mail was delivered to various addresses. Since we didn't have anybody in the office full time, it was delivered to the past president who resigned. He goes to Florida and these kind of things. So mail, we never received mail. We have been a nonprofit synagogue for close to 90 years. In this building, 1954, 1960, and we're now renovating. We're going to make Temple Bethel great again. You know, for events like that. And that's why it wasn't filed. It wasn't neglect. It wasn't. We were trying to do something. This was just an administrative, clerical kind of mistake. All the financials have been submitted, and I think not doing this 2 times in 90 years. And we are a functioning synagogue. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments from members of the public? Vince?
Good evening, Sam Pinto, Long Beach. I just know, living and growing up here, that Temple FFL has always been a staple in the community, and it was a very active synagogue and religious organization, and right now I think we have an opportunity to try to revitalize that, and this is one of the steps. Giving them this letter of support will help bring back the history and character of that building for the future, so I support it.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, at this time we'll move on to item number 5.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing payment to the city's life and accidental dismemberment insurance program.
Okay, this year we were notified by the Hartford that they were going to raise our basic life insurance policy for employees by 14%. This covers 589 people, 365 active and 224 retirees, with 79 retirees who retired police. Our broker did go out and shop the policy as a result, and the Hartford is giving us a contract that will have a 7% savings over the current Hartford plan for the actives for accidental death and dismemberment. There'll be 2% savings over the current for retiree basic life rate, 51% savings over the renewal, and a 45% saving over current renewal for the retired police accidental death and dismemberment.
Okay, any questions, comments from the council? Questions? All right, questions from members of the public? Item number 5. All right, seeing none, we move on to item number 6.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing certain exempt employees to carry over more than 50 vacation days into the succeeding calendar year.
Since the separation payout issues, I've been trying to follow exactly the city charter as members come due for vacation and sick leave and things of that nature. So this month, on December 3rd, the payroll clerk approached me, and who had been gone through questioning during this whole period about the carryover for exempt employees for the vacation time. So he had been trained to follow the CSEA contract for exempt employees. So that meant, which originally when the personnel code was first set up, it mirrored the CSEA contract in allowing up to 50 days. But over a period of time, the CSEA contract was improved to 75 days and then to 80 days. So we had several exempt employees who, because of things like Sandy, some working with the acting city manager for a period of time, had accumulated last year well over the 50 days or up to the 80 days that are allowed 640 hours. And we informed them that we needed to have them submit in writing reasons for their overage. They had been approved last year, they had the same amount last year, and that we needed a resolution from the city council to approve them to continue to carry over that much and to give them 2 years to work it down so that we would not be unfair to those employees. 1 year.
1 year.
1 year, I'm sorry.
Okay, any questions or comments from members of the council? All right, seeing none, at this time we'll open up the floor, members of the public, questions and or comments as it relates to item number 6.
We're talking about 5 people here. How much vacation time do these people get?
Employees accrue vacation based on a schedule set forth in the CSEA contract. The exempts accrue time, which mirrors that. It depends on how many years of service you have. That's how much time.
We're talking 5 people. How much vacation time do these 5 people get? You don't have to name them specifically. How much time do they get?
In terms of how much vacation do they accrue in a year?
Yes.
It depends on their years of service.
So you don't know. In other words, you guys don't know how much, of these 5 people, you don't know how much time they accrued?
No, we have the numbers that, sorry, we do have the numbers that they've accrued. It's weekly on their paychecks. They accrue a certain amount based on the years of service, and it could be the first year it's 10 days for the year. It goes up to 12, and I think it can go up as high as 20 days, 25 days, depending on the number of years. So it's different for each one of these 5 employees, depending on the number of years they've worked here.
So they can't carry over 50 days, so we don't know, do you know how many?
No, they can carry over, according to the code, they can carry over 50 days, but if they have more than 50 days of accrued time at that time, they need a council resolution to be able to continue to carry over that amount.
But that has to be for good cause shown.
For good cause, so.
Okay, so why, what I don't understand is why you have it in the ordinances that they should not be carrying more than 50 days. Why isn't that enforced? I mean, I'm saying at this point that it's probably too late to do anything, but I don't understand how the city's operating. We know
Okay,
about
well,
this.
if I could give you a couple of examples, and I'm sure we have our building commissioner here, Scott Kevins. He has 30 plus years with the city. 40 years plus. Well, that's 30 plus too. So anyway, Scott, once after Sandy, with all the house raisings, wasn't able to take all the vacation he wanted to take because that he had on the books.
Okay,
because he
John,
needed
let me stop you right there because I don't want to go with specifics because I have questions about specifics. I don't think it's the right thing to do. You know, you're saying this particular person had this. I don't want to say, well, this particular person, I can't see how they could have accrued that kind of time with the amount of time that they've been here. So let's not get into specifics because, you know, when it comes to personnel, we should not be going into specifics. I asked how much time, and that's why I specifically said, I'm not asking per person, I'm asking how much time they accrue during the year. And, you know, I got it, well, it could be this, it could be that. You know what? The code is very clear, that it's limited to 50 days. They shall not, you know, unless they have a good cause shown. But it seems that this has been the standard practice for how many years now? How many years have we been doing this, giving them the additional time? At least 6.
Let me just back up a little bit. Maybe, let me explain the point of what we're doing here a little bit.
John, I know the point. The point is that they haven't used up their time.
Well,
And you know, they're entitled to their time. I'm not debating that. What I'm saying is that's not the way to run the city. We should have control. If we have something that says in the ordinance, limited to 50 days, we shouldn't come on December 17th and say, oh, guess what, you have all this time, we better do something about it. We should be looking from the January 1, how vacation time is being used.
okay, so, that being said, I think there's a general consensus that some of the rules have been considered optional for quite some time. What we're trying to do now is to bring people into compliance. We're trying to follow the rules now. That's what we're going to do going forward. So there is a process here. We have these 5 people that no matter, I understand your point, we started looking at this back in January, but when they did start looking at it this year, there was no way humanly possible they could have taken enough time off to get their banks down to 50 days. That's the issue here. So what we are doing in this resolution, because believe me, I have a charter highlighted right here exactly how this has to be done. We're giving them a finite amount of time to become compliant with that 50-day limit. So what we're doing is we're basically giving a grace period in this resolution to become compliant.
with that 50-day limit. Going forward, I don't know if employees will get that privilege, because now we're going to be following the rules. But right now, we have these 5 people who are in purgatory. Some of them just, quite frankly, could not take the time off. There wasn't enough time from when they learned about this, that we're gonna start enforcing the rules, to now, to take that time. So we're giving them this grace period to take that time to become compliant, and then we're gonna start enforcing the compliance.
John, if it says unless, 50 days, unless you come to the city council.
Okay.
Then we're not, then we need to have a conversation.
So we'll address that, and I'm sure some of them are sitting in the room, they're not happy with me. They were given effectively an assignment to write basically a short report on, for each individual had to do it, on why they couldn't comply with the 50 days. And like I said, some of them are not necessarily happy they had to do it, but that is what is in the code, and they did it. So they gave their cause. I believe, we'll find out when we vote, that the people accepted their reasons. But this is the start of we're gonna play by the rules.
I hope so, John. I hope next year we're not doing the same thing. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments with respect to item number 6? Nora Egan?
Nora Egan. Can you explain to me, Mr. Randall, why is this on the agenda like tonight, and why at the last minute? A few of the people that are listed here, we know are part of the investigation, we know are part of the audit. One questionable payment for the Economic Development Director. And like you're giving her a pass, like why can't we hold this over? Like why is it has to be done, signed tonight? Like,
Well,
the last 2 years is a waste of time, then.
no, the issue is there's no council meetings between now and the end of the year, and as December 31st, they would lose the time above the 50 days. So you couldn't carry it over to the next council meeting, because on January 1, they lose it. The time is gone, it's taken away.
And everybody's timesheets are correct?
That's what we were told. I mean,
Have you looked at them?
I was shown, I guess, the Munis reports.
The council was given the accrued vacation time for every exempt employee.
Okay, but you actually saw, the council actually saw the timesheets for everybody? For the 5 people, the 5 people, the timesheets?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean, but we were shown
Were
their
they sign
accumulated
in?
time.
And were they actually signing themselves and,
No, we didn't see that, because
you didn't see
those are
anybody?
weekly, I understand.
Yeah.
So we didn't see those individual ones. What we saw was a summary from Munis of the, well, their time was put into the system. The system gave us a summary of their accumulated banks, and that's what we,
But there's also like timesheets that they fill in themselves. Have they been seen by everybody?
The timesheets are put into the system and in the payroll system, so that when people use vacation time or other time, it's deducted from their banks. And that's what the council saw, is how much accrued time, as far as vacation, is left in these employees' banks.
Okay, I'm gonna ask again. Anybody on the council see any of these 5 people that are listed, their actual timesheets that they filled in? Never.
no, but I'm not clear, the timesheets don't show.
So maybe they
vacation.
took vacation that they didn't fill in correctly. Maybe.
Maybe I could give a little way the procedure works. Each supervisor in each department fills a timesheet out for bi-weekly to give to the payroll clerk. Okay, on each one of those timesheets in each department is listed every person that works there, including the exempts. Okay? The The payroll clerk gets that, and it will have to show which days somebody's on vacation, sick, personal, funeral leave, and that gets entered into the payroll system, okay, right on those sheets.
Right.
After the supervisor approves those sheets, it goes to, like in the police department, that goes to the police commissioner, he approves all
Right.
those. In public works, they all come to me, and I approve all those departments.
Right.
Those then go to the payroll clerk. The payroll clerk just goes through them and enters each day in the number of hours. Sometimes it might be a half a vacation day, so it's 4 hours entered. Sometimes it might be a full vacation day, it's 8 hours entered. In addition, on his Excel spreadsheet in Munis, is each paycheck, depending on the number of years of service, they accumulate a certain amount of, like, for me, for example, I accumulate 3.49 hours every paycheck for vacation. And that goes, so there's 2 columns in the spreadsheet, one showing as the accumulation goes up, and one subtracting vacation time. Those sheets were submitted.
Okay, but I know I'm repeating myself, and I apologize to people, but I would like pretty sure the 3 council people to answer me about if they have seen any of the individual handwritten timesheets, because we know that there are certain people on this list are subject to an investigation, and what you're doing here is wrong. So none of you saw them. No, none of you saw any of
I
them.
don't understand. I answered you already. No, you heard me say no. It has changed. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes, Eileen Hessen.
Eileen Hessian, it just is another way that we are not going by the books. I know you said that we're going to be going by the books starting next year, but there's nothing in this resolution that says that there's any corrective action. In many jobs, you either use it or lose it. I know that's not the case here. But it just does seem like 50 is a large number. And I understand, maybe I'm wrong, that vacation time is self-monitored. So if somebody tells you they took a week off, you believe them. If they say they didn't take a week off, you believe them. And of course, you want to trust your employees, but I'm not sure that that's always the case. Several of the people on this list got separation pay when they didn't separate, and that seems to be, maybe that was their reward for putting in extra time during Sandy. So I don't know why they would get extra vacation days for not taking those days then. I don't know. It is such a shady looking thing here. I don't know, it's just unbelievable what's going on here. And everything is at the last minute like this. It's just a couple of days before the new year, before the new council comes in. Only 60% of the council is here now. Only 40% of them will be here in 2 weeks when the new people come in. And decisions like this are being made. I'll tell you, there are 5 people on this list for the extra days. If I was the 6th person, I'd start writing my essay now about why I deserve 10 extra days as well. There must be an awful lot of people who put in a lot of time and did things as well and deserve it just as well. Picking out 5 names like this is like, I don't know, it's just kind of bizarre. That's my opinion.
Just to make it clear, these are not extra vacation days that were given to them. These are vacation days that they were unable to take over the last several years.
Stephanie O'Leary.
Hi, I would like to echo what Eileen said. Exactly a year ago today, I stood here and said that this code needs to be changed. And obviously it wasn't changed. No private business has a backdoor clause. this code. Because, you know, if you are the sixth person, there's a problem. And it just gives people a back door. I believe the people who are up for this now probably do deserve it, but it's the code that is not clear and shouldn't be written this way. It should be tight. You know, if you don't take the day, it's gone. There's no, you know, there's not a big problem with that. If you work for 4 months on Sandy, you can take time off, or you can choose to lose it. It's the code that's wrong, it should be changed. And I hope I'm not up here next year saying the same thing, because it just seems like, you know, nobody's listening. We're just back here again, a year later, code has not been changed. There's even more problems this year than there were last year at this moment. Thank you.
Are there any other comments, questions? Seeing none, we move on to item, I'm sorry, legislative floor.
Denise, well, I actually came here, you know, because I wanted to wish you well in your endeavors and to thank you for your service to the city. But I have to agree with the previous, I wasn't going to speak about this, but, you know, just hearing the previous speakers, you know, when you think about everything that we've gone through in regards to these timesheets, payouts, what they got. And I think that many interesting points were brought up in regard to why I agree with them that perhaps we should table this or recess this meeting so that you can come back to it. If you need to vote on it for January 1st one, then come back and vote on it. But, you know, when you think about, first of all, putting 5 individuals, clearly naming them into a resolution, yeah, if you're the 6th, the 7th, or the 8th person, if you're somebody else who's exempt, and you're going to lose your days over 50, you know, because you weren't named in this, it can happen. John, it can happen. Somebody can stay.
Denise,
It's
none
preference.
of the other people had those days accumulated over the 50. This is because of circumstances due to work and commitment and people not being able to take off because of some of the work that was going on because of Sandy and other reasons, okay, weren't able to take all their vacation time, and as a result, the payroll clerk used to follow the CSEA contract because that's the way he was trained. Okay, in December 3rd, so this wasn't done last minute for any reason other than December 3rd, the payroll clerk came to me and said, John, I now understand that the code only allows to carry over 50 days. So I called the people into my office that had over the 50 days, and it wouldn't be fair to them because they were here doing work for the city, good work for the city from Sandy, and just because of, this has nothing to do with payouts or anything else. This has to do, they had accumulated vacation time over the 50 days, and we're trying to correct it this year. And we're trying to give them the 1 year, and the code allows for this, to be able to get themselves down to the 50 days accumulated. They did a service for the city, and it would be unfair for them to lose all those days. And in addition, I would lose them for the rest of this year. And there are some key positions here. The building commissioner, the deputy commissioner of public works, we're already working short in public works. And I need them for the rest of the year to make sure we get everything done.
But nobody's arguing with that. I mean, we all know that some of the work that some of these individuals did after Sandy, we know how the years of service to the city, you know, that they've done, day and even without Sandy. I mean, they've always been here for each and every single one of us. And you know, if anybody personally, to use the word rewarded, there are definitely 2 people on this list that should be, that I feel deserves to be rewarded. But I think even when you look at this, that they can come before the city already and say, to give cause to say. So you may say, well, you know, if I'm not going to name an individual, to say, well, this person, you know, you already can say, well, this person can carry those days. You know, you don't have to have it resolved that you carry all of these other people into it. And, you know, then I think that Nora even brings up a good point. Did you actually look at the timesheets for each and every single individual? Because there are those who got paid a couple of years ago. They got paid for days, and they stayed on the payroll. And then did we take into consideration that I know, John, when you said, you know, they work so hard and maybe we should reward them. which actually I'm also rewarding a lot of exempt employees by paying them over for the work that they did. So, I mean, it's, you know what? But with that being said, I think that, just with everything that we've gone through, with people that have clearly lied on timesheets, people have lied on their payout sheets, there's so many things that, you know, under investigations and whatever, I think that we're just like rather weary of what's going on. You can easily take care of some of these people already. You know, the people who are truly well deserving of special consideration. But I really think that we have to take a look and make sure that each and every single person who's getting this and getting these, who have more than 50 days, truly deserve to have it. But I'm not arguing. I think that I understand why you're doing it, and I don't blame you for doing it, but I really think you better really take a good close look at all of this. Thank you. All right. Yes.
Mr. Bendo, you stated that, quote, it wasn't humanely possible for them to use all their days. Could you clarify what you meant by that? Sure. As the acting city manager said, the problem wasn't identified to him until this month, which left 3 weeks, 4 weeks tops for them to take time. Some of these people have several hundred hours of vacation time over the limit, and even if they took the entire month off, they couldn't get down to the cap. The entire month. Listen, we are now trying to address what has been a problem that's been going on for years. I mean, we inherited this, quite frankly, and now we're trying to deal with it. This wasn't a problem of, at least I'll be selfish, my making. I'm trying to fix it. You said several hundred hours, so like what kind of day range are we talking about in excess of 50? I know you can't say. Well, an 8-hour workday, so somebody, what's that?
80 days.
Yeah, so some people had 80 days worth. How does that exactly go unnoticed? You guys have to confuse. Unnoticed, it's not an issue of going unnoticed, it was an issue of people were playing by a different set of rules. And now we're trying to comply with the rules as written in the Code of Ordinances, which wasn't done before. So we're trying to become compliant with what we are supposed to do. That did not happen before. Before it was the wild, wild west, quite frankly. And now we're trying to fix it.
Wow, I mean, 80 days, I mean, I understand what you said about it's not a matter of time notice. 80 days, 30 over the limit, right? Doesn't ring a bell? I mean,
Of course, listen, I work at a company, I use it or lose it. And I've lost vacation at my company because I wasn't able to take it, I was at the cap. And yeah, I didn't have the luxury of being able to go to a council and ask that I carry it over. Right now, the way the process is written, there is a process for them to do that. So we're complying with the process. We're playing by the rules.
Yeah, going back to the date, like the range of days, like, you know, can it range from like how many for these employees? It can range from 80 to what? Are you able to say that? Like in excess of 50?
This 80 days didn't accumulate over the past year, okay? Person has X amount of vacation days, suppose gets 20 vacation days a year, let's say. So during Sandy starting in 2012, that person maybe can only take 10 of their days. So the next year, they have the 20 hours they get plus the 20 days plus another 10. So you can't imagine the amount of work that went on here in some departments during Sandy, okay? And the amount of time that the exempt spent on dealing with this. So each year it accumulated. The payroll clerk was under the impression that what the code said, if you read the code, what it says is that exempt employees will get entitled to the same vacation as the CSEA contract allows, but no way should they get paid over at the time of separation, should they get paid over the 50 days accumulated. Okay? It does allow for them to, if they accrue over the 50, to come and get permission. The payroll clerk was not aware of that section of the code. He was trained by the previous payroll clerk to follow the CSEA contract. So the CSEA contract changed over the years from when the code was first written, from allowing 50 days in the CSEA contract to 75 days, then to 80 days. So over those years, right after Sandy, these exempt employees had accrued that much. So these have been being carried for 2 or 3 years under the impression by the payroll clerk that it should match what the CSEA contract has. With everything that went on in the last year, the payroll clerk realized that in this December, when it was getting time to zero out all vacations and see who had accrued time, came to me and said, look, this is what the code says, how do you want me to handle this? Wouldn't be fair to these employees that sacrifice taking vacation time to do work for the city, to not allow them to at least have a way to whittle these down over a period of time. They couldn't possibly do it in the last month of the year. Not only could they not do it, but it would also hurt. We have major things going on at the end of the year. One of the exempt employees is dealing with our community rating system, which is very important to the ratepayers in terms of their insurance. One of our other employees dealing with still closing out open permits and COs for homes that were raised. So there's a lot of work that has to be done. And to ask them to try to take that 30 days in the last month would, one, hurt the city, and two, not really being fair to the exempt employees. So it's not really an issue of how much over 80 days. Nobody has over 80 days accrued out of those 5.
So that's, yeah, because, given all the standards, we have to make sure, as you said, Mr. Bender, that, after this, right, this is a grace period. We meet it this time. We'll be playing by the rules next time, right? And I hope we see a resolution soon that will act those incentives.
Any other comments? Yes, Ms. Kelly?
Good evening, Helen Long Beach. Okay, I understand that these people did a lot of great things during Hurricane Sandy and through all this time. A lot of people did a lot of great things during Hurricane Sandy and did not approve them. They just did. And I'm not saying that they have to do that. The fact though, that they'll have 80 days in the bank. Say exempt employees decide to leave next year. Aren't they entitled to 30% of those days?
The code says that an exempt employee can only be paid for 400 hours of vacation.
Okay,
So that's right in this resolution, just to emphasize it. Okay? It says, in no event shall any accrued vacation time in excess of 50 days have any cash value or be payable upon separation of the employee. It's as Councilmember Bendo said, this is just a grace period for them to use their time so that they're compliant starting next year.
So they can't
And
cash out on it.
all of the exempt employees now know, as Acting City Manager Miranda said, that they're to be at no more than 400, because I'm sure the council does not like entertaining these requests.
Okay, so now they have 80 days in their bank, and now they have to get that down to the 50. So now they have to take these days in the next year. So that's 30 vacation days in 1 year.
Plus the vacation they accumulate in some
That's
years
a
as well.
lot of time.
A lot of time.
That's a lot of time. That's a lot of taxpayers paying other staff members overtime, right? Because someone's got to take their job while they're doing.
Exempt employees don't do it.
And nobody else does their job. So that's a vacant position basically for a lot of hours.
It hinders the city's operations.
Yeah.
So the goal is that, that's the procedure is written to get these banks down to manageable levels.
I
And
know,
quite
but
frankly, for some people.
Have less of our services.
Right, and for some people, quite frankly, to go sit on the beach with a drink with an umbrella and to get away from their job.
Sorry. How are we going to stop this going forward? I mean, shouldn't we have a resolution in place at the end? We're done?
That's what that ordinance says. If it was followed all along, that would have been in place, and I think the anticipation is going forward, it will be followed all along. Just to follow on what Acting City Manager Miranda said,
these employees are most likely entitled to these days, they could take them right now. If they all took them now, the city would come to a standstill. So that's why it's a great.
I think when they do take them, something's going to really lack in our city too. So I don't understand why we're saying it's okay.
I can spread out over the year where it could be coordinated, so we don't have, I'm not gonna sing like that, but we don't have multiple commissioners taking them at the same time. It would be regulated.
If this is just these 5 people, can't we spread it out over time so that we are not losing that many services over a single year? You're talking, this is an extreme situation, right?
The way the code is worded is that you can't carry over more than 50 days vacation at the end of the calendar year. So based on how the code is written, the grace period can only be 1 year. Because at the end of the year, the excess time would get zeroed out until it's 400.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, now we move to item number 7.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase a post clock from the sole responsible bidder and to accept a donation for that purchase.
Okay, as everybody knows, for quite some time, the clock at the railroad station has not been functioning, and when we tried to repair it, the manufacturer of that clock no longer exists and could no longer get parts for it. Mr. Wiesenberg and his estate with his wife has agreed to pay for a new clock to replace that clock and make it a gift, so we put a bid out for the clock. We did only receive 1 bid. And the price for the clock was from the Virgin Company for $25,892. And Mr. Wiesenberg is donating the entire amount for the clock. We'll be accepting it from him next month.
Well, we're grateful for his donation. Okay, are there any questions or comments from members of the council?
Just so people know, this isn't a table clock. It's like a, you know, it's a big sand clock.
And it's an old clock.
Yeah.
It means it's small. All right, now we'll have comments from members of the public. I guess we've heard some. All right. All right. We're going to move to item number 8.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase a valve insertion system from the sole responsible bidder.
This is valve insertion equipment is for our water department. Our existing valve insertion equipment has outlasted its useful life, and it's time for a new one. In order to, often we have to make large shutdowns because some of the valves don't work if we have a water main leak. This allows us to install a valve without shutting down the water main and can narrow down during a major break. It can narrow down the amount of services that we have to shut off to effect the repair. And also a very good way to replace some valves that aren't working without shutting down the main and interrupting service.
Any comments or questions from members of the council? All right. Questions from members of the public? Item number 8. All right, seeing no one, we move on to item number 9.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to accept and execute 2 grants on behalf of the city of Long Beach from the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority and the Department of State.
Okay, the city is responsible for maintaining an intricate roadway lighting system comprised of 1,939 light fixtures. Since Superstorm Sandy, the city has made a commitment to rebuild with resilience and sustainability in mind. Currently, the city has 1,200 or 62% of our street lights updated to light-emitting diodes or LED lighting. Replacing this older infrastructure has decreased energy demand, reduced emissions, improved public safety, and saved taxpayer dollar. Since 2015, with the existing LED program, we've saved over $50,000. Under this agreement, the city would contract with the Department of State and New York State Research and Development Authority, who uses WellsBack as their contractor, who also happens to be the city's contractor, to install and upgrade the existing 739 induction light fixtures to LED lighting. The estimated cost of the project is $297,581.43, completely offset by grants acquired by the city. One of the New York State Department grants totals $250, which was awarded through the Financial Restructuring Board process. the city undertook this past summer, and the other is from the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, or NYSERDA, totaling $99,975, which the city was awarded when it achieved clean energy community status in 2017. These grants do not require any matching or pay for the total cost. Once complete, the retrofit is expected to result in energy savings of approximately $51,000 per year. I have to thank Ryan McKinnon and Tyler Huffman in our office for working on both these grants.
Any questions or comments from members of the council? All right, questions or comments from members of the audience? All right, we'll move on to item number 10.
Item 10 is a resolution to schedule a special meeting of the City Council on Wednesday, January 1st, 2020 at 12 noon.
Yes, I believe that's self-explanatory. Are there any questions and or comments from members of the council? All right, members of the public? All right, seeing none, we can move on to.
Okay, on to the voting portion. Item 1 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into an intermunicipal agreement for the transport and disposal of municipal solid waste. Introduce for the adoption of this item. Second?
I will.
Go ahead, Councilman Mandel.
Yes.
Vice President Mandel.
Yes.
President Moore.
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution authorizing approval of Mediator Riegel's recommendation. Introduce for the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second? Go ahead, Councilman Mandel.
Okay, first and foremost, I share in your concern. I don't like last-minute agenda items like this, but sometimes they're unavoidable. Here, we're being advised by our Labor Council that the mediator, who is actually the arbitrator, who will be trying this case if it doesn't resolve, personally put this together and put it forward to both the PBA and the city, with the expectation that this would be ratified by both sides this week. I believe the understanding was the PBA would have done it earlier, for whatever reason they weren't able to, and the anticipation is they're going to do it on before Thursday. We have been made aware of the terms. We can't discuss the terms, which is frustrating, and I appreciate that concern as well. But on occasion, we have to vote on things where we have to put our insights, there has to be, unfortunately, some trust in our insights and what we know that we're not able to divulge, just like litigation and other matters. Here, things have been represented to us that, without going into detail, because I'm not able to, with the advice of counsel, has the goal of sustainability for our police department and right into the city. Based on those representations and based on the fact that it is the very arbitrator who put this together, I have to vote yes.
Vice President Mandel.
Councilman Mandel plagiarized a lot of my remarks. Look, the goal here is, I think everybody can agree we want to have our own police department if it's possible. But it has to be sustainable and financially viable for the taxpayers. This is a step in that direction. I know it sucks you don't have details. If I was sitting out there, I'd be pissed too. But sometimes you have to have a little faith in the people that are up here that they're doing the right thing for you. And I know that's tough because of all the stuff that's going on and has been going on, that trust is hard to come by. But in this instance, this is one where, while you may not know all the details, this is in the interest of the city, the police department, and the residents. This is good for you. So you just got to take a little bit of a leap of faith with us on this one, that we are acting in your interest. So with that, I vote yes.
All right, so once again, everything's already been said, but the key for me was the fact that the details could not be revealed tonight until both sides ratify. It's my understanding that once that takes place, there will be another meeting here. We cannot share the time. We cannot be time specific, but there will be another meeting to allow for you as members of the public to have access to information. Lastly, again, the fact that the arbitrator is making a final decision, we should not place everything in the hands of the arbitrator. We have the opportunity tonight to once again at least be a part of the process. And the consequence was if we, for whatever reason, decided to table this tonight, that we would be really placing the fate of our city and of our police department in the hands of the arbitrator. And we believe tonight that it's important for us to support our police department. We support our police department. I believe that in light of everything that's taking place across this country, it's important that we have a unique situation where we have our own police department and they're defiant. And we should support that and we should find ways to do that. And tonight is the first step in doing that. It's also a first step in us making sure that as a city, we go ahead and provide an opportunity that will allow for not only the PBA to benefit, but for our community to benefit. And so, again, I will vote yes based on everything that I heard this evening.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing settlement of certiorari proceedings.
Move the adoption of this item. I will. Second. Voting, Councilman Mandel. Yes.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to issue a letter of support.
Please move the adoption of this item. Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilman Mandel.
Yes.
Vice President Mandel.
Yes.
President Moore.
This is exciting news for Temple Bethel, and I wish them all the best. With that, I vote yes.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing payment for the city's life and accidental dismemberment insurance program.
Please move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilman Mandel.
Yes.
Vice President Mandel.
Yes.
President Moore.
Yes.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing certain exempt employees to carry over more than 50 vacation days into the succeeding calendar year.
Please move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second. Voting, Councilman Mandel.
Again, I don't like last-minute agenda items like this, but same thing applies. This came up December 3rd. I just want to stress, this is limited to these employees. This is a one-time thing. Going forward, the goal is for strict compliance with the ordinances and the code. However, the goal is, while to get the city in compliance, the goal is not to punish dedicated employees who relied on prior guidance from the city. That's not the remedy to fix what's ailing the city. So with that, I vote yes.
Vice President Mandel.
Yes.
President Moore.
Yes, I believe that this is the first step in the process to establish the controls and to move forward with compliance. With that, I vote yes.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase a post clock from the sole responsible bidder and to accept a donation for that purchase.
Please move the adoption of this item. Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilman Mandel.
I want to thank Harvey Wiesenberg once again coming to the aid of the city. I vote yes.
Vice President Mandel.
Yes, thank you to the Dr. Wiesenberg. Yes.
President Moore.
Thank you, Assemblyman Harvey Wiesenberg. With that, I vote yes.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase a valve insertion system from the sole responsible bidder.
Please move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilman Mandel.
Yes.
Vice President Mandel.
Yes.
President Moore.
Yes.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to accept and execute 2 grants on behalf of the city of Long Beach from the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority and the Department of State.
Please move the adoption of this item. Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilman Mandel.
Yes.
Vice President Mandel.
Yes.
President Moore.
Just wants to once again on behalf of the council thank Ryan Tiernan and also Tyler Huffman for their efforts. With that, I vote yes.
And finally, item 10 is a resolution to schedule a special meeting of the city council on Wednesday, January 1st, 2020 at 12 o'clock noon.
Please move the adoption of this item. Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilman Mandel.
Yes.
Yes.
President Moore.
Yes.
You make a motion to close the meeting.
I will.
Second. Voting, Councilman Mandel. Vice President Mandel.
I would just like to take this opportunity, because because this will be the last time she'll be voting to thank Councilwoman Moore for 4 years of service to the city. As we all know, she was a bit of a maverick when she took office, and she started moving us in a direction that now other people are going to have to pick up the ball and run with it. And it's thanks to her that we're moving in the right direction. So with that, I vote yes.
Thank you, and thank you for your kind words, and I'm confident that we're moving the city forward, and I'm still a member of the Long Beach community, and I look forward to seeing the exciting things that will take place in 2020. With that, I vote yes. All right, that concludes this. We're going to move right into our good and welfare portion of the meeting. Hear from Kathleen O'Leary.
I also wanted to thank Anissa for her 4 years of service. Doesn't seem like 4 years in my past. You know, I feel that you brought a level of calmness to the council and fairness to the council. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I've accomplished, I remember when, it was 2 years ago, in a very big rush, it was presented to the council to accept these payments for people who are still with the city. And I have to admire John Bendo for not rushing and looking at it and figuring out that it was bogus. And I want to thank both of you because you were the only two that voted down it was $2.1 million bond issue. So the ripple effect of that vote is humongous. I mean, we've had problems in Long Beach for decades. And I feel like we're on the road to fixing things. So for that, I'm in your debt.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And Verona.
Any Verona? I hope that the council can definitely commit to a meeting within the next several days about when we will be able to speak with Mr. He has left now, but Mr. O'Neill about the contract. I'm excited to read the contract. I hope it is as good as it promised, and I think that we should really have some accountability about this contract. And I think in the future, we should include city council-elect members within executive sessions. We should include them. We should at least keep them updated about contract negotiations and other matters, that this is a provision that has been used in the school district and is, in some cases, practices that are used in the school district. So I think in the future we should at least add this into the charter to allow city council-elect members to just participate in things that will actually affect them. But I do have to say, I do disagree with the action to push forward this last-minute police deal. I think it was wrong that this was put on the current administration, but I hope that a meeting can be made soon so that the residents, the city council-elect members, and all the public can really understand this contract that affects us all. But despite this bad decision, I'm very excited for the new administration. I have hope that they will be able to restore trust into this city that has been gone for so long. And I hope that this administration can save this city. I really do. And I hope it can keep it affordable so myself and my children can live here. And though I have been away in Washington, D.C. these past couple months, I have kept some tabs on the city, and I do want to congratulate Mr. Mirando on his appointment as acting city manager. And I have seen that he has created Mondays with the manager. I saw that in the Herald the other day. And so I think that's a good gesture of goodwill for the citizens and to allow us some transparency and I will be taking over on that. So I look forward to meeting with you next week. So thank you. Yes, thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Eileen Hession. Yes. Pass. Okay, Sam Pinto.
Good evening, Sam Pinto, Long Beach. Again, I want to thank Acting Superintendent Miranda and President Moore for recognizing the work of the firefighters last week. It was a situation that went very well, all things considered. When people saw the videos of the flames online, they thought the whole building was lost and it was contained to one apartment, literally, which is a true testament of hard work people put in. So I want to thank you for recognizing that. The second thing is while I may disagree with also the choice to vote on that recommendation of accepting of the mediator's situation, you went for your own advice, and I'm not the guy who makes $400 or $500 an hour giving you advice, so hopefully that was good advice the person gave you. And lastly, and most importantly, beyond a doubt, I want to thank President Moore for her work. I stood near you, around you, next to you, behind you, in front of you, for countless events that we worked really hard, whether it was an event upstairs in the second floor of the ice skating, or doing North Park walks, or I don't know, when your presidency made history here, or whatever it was. You truly worked hard, really hard, and with your heart for the residents, and it was completely recognized, and you deserve to be maintained in the history books of someone who did everything she could for the community. And I want, as your last time of the meeting, I want to thank you for your work here, and being able to experience it and witness it as well. Truly heartfelt thank you. And I hope that the new incoming city council would recommend her to be on some sort of commission or advisory board of her choosing, so she can really continue and help out. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure working with you. Norton.
Pass.
Okay, Roy Lester. I knew you wouldn't pass on me tonight. This is my last night. I would be offended if you didn't come up with something.
Not a chance. But given that, before I get to the critical part, and this I have to say thank you. You made some tough decisions, and we wouldn't be where we are if you and John hadn't stood up when we needed you to. I know I'm very critical of you, but then again, I'm critical of everyone.
You are.
And, I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope you stay involved. Okay.
Thank you.
Now,
All right.
that was a miserable decision you guys made, and you made it based on what Terry O'Neill basically bullied you into. And that was not why we elected you. We elected you because you understood that we as the taxpayers are entitled to know stuff. And, Scott, for you to say, well, it's like litigation. It's not like litigation, okay? This is not litigation. This is voting by the people that elected, for the people that elected you. And we're entitled to know what's going on. And to say, trust us, is the worst thing any politician can say. And I hate to call you politicians, but tonight, that's exactly how you came out. Trust us. It's a big contract. It's very, as Mr. O'Neill said, very complicated and lengthy and stuff like that. I don't know how much time you got to explore this very complicated and lengthy contract. But that the public got to know nothing about it. And you were told, oh, it has to be voted on. And you want to know why? Why? So we didn't offend the arbitrator. Are you kidding me? So we didn't offend. That was the reason given. Well, we don't want to offend the arbitrator. He worked very hard on it. So you public aren't entitled to know anything, and we don't want to offend the arbitrator, and our attorney's telling us it has to be done because he doesn't want to offend the arbitrator. So you say, the hell with you taxpayers, we're just gonna do it. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry, that's not the way. I've been involved in public service for a long time, and in 20 years I was involved, never once did we tell the public, we're not gonna tell you. We're gonna vote on it, but we're not gonna tell you anything about it because we don't want to offend anybody. And yes, I still love you, but...
I love you too. And there will be a meeting as soon as possible.
But
We're not
all
gonna
you're
let
going to
time
do
go.
is tell us what we are ready for. It's like, you know, when I go to these fairs, I never buy the grab bag thing, where they say, pay us some money, and you don't know what you get. Never do it.
You'll get something good, but then maybe it's over. Good evening.
Good evening. I have two things I want to say. First of all, I want to thank you, Anissa, for just showing women and girls that leadership for women can be done. For those that don't know, I'm a Girl Scout leader, and the Girl Scouts have talked to me a lot about you, and I just want to thank you as a Girl Scout leader and for the young girls that you have shown something to them.
Thank you. You know I love them, and I'll still continue to
So
work with
thank you for
them.
that. Really beautiful. So I really wanted to bring something up to those of you about the Electric Light Parade. Being a Girl Scout leader, I love the Electric Light Parade. I think it's a fabulous thing that the city does. And something was brought up to me that I'm sure that some people may have been aware of, other people may not have been aware of. So we cannot walk on Beach Street with an open container. And I was very much well aware that people were, riding on the floats with open beer cans. And as somebody that, I saw it and I didn't really think anything of it. A mother turned to me and said, "Do you see all the open beer cans on the cars and on the floats?" And I thought, wow, yeah, I did. Then I turned to the young girls that I was standing next to, who were all in elementary school, and I just leaned over to them. I was like, "Oh my gosh, wasn't this parade great?" And they looked at me and said, "Yeah, we're actually counting the beer cans." And I just wanted to bring that to your attention because it doesn't take a lot. I know the work that Carrie and Troy and James Lynch, I know what they all do, but I know in the bylaws there's like rules that you have to register each car and everything. Because I've been in the parade before. It would just be awesome if each one of them have to make sure that everybody has a solo cup. I know, you guys, but it's just to see everybody sitting on top of the car, a Bud Light and a Heineken. It's a parade. It's for children. That's all I want to say.
Just so you're aware, at my manager's meeting yesterday, I did have a couple of neighbors come in to talk to me about some of those issues, and I'm already drafting a memo to the organizers of some things that we can do next year to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, it just was, I didn't really think about it, but when you hear the kids counting the beer cans, it just, look, they're not my kids, I'm not a mother, but still, I don't want to hear it.
Well, thank you for bringing this to our
Thank you.
attention.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Jackie Odom.
Jack Odom, Long Beach. I'm glad it's at the end. I don't know what happened to the I think I would be remiss if I let this opportunity pass me by. It's sort of like a bitter-sweet pill. And I would like to say, we the concerned citizens of North Park and the residents of Long Beach, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Honorable Anissa D. Moore, for serving this city over the last 4 years. We hope that you continue to work and serve mankind. We the people pray that God will continue to use you. You have made history, the first Afro-American woman to hold a seat on the City Council of Long Beach. By you serving as president of the council cannot be erased from history. We know you love challenges, so we will embark upon many other projects during your lifespan. We wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I don't use the word holiday because it does not have the sentiment of the birth of Jesus Christ. I commend the upcoming administration and hope that you will continue to build on what the Honorable Anissa D. Moore has set here for us as history in the city of Long Beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not going to try and follow that. I'm good.
This brings us to the end of the meeting. We want to once again recognize our Long Beach Auxiliary Police. I just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to serve all of you. I really appreciate this opportunity. I will never forget this opportunity. And once again, from the bottom of my heart, it's been a privilege to serve the people of Long Beach, and I will continue to serve in whatever way I can in the near future. With that being said, a wonderful holiday. Get home safe.